Good morning, folks. It's a beautiful morning, a little brisk, but still beautiful. So I'm going to get started today on fixing some of those mistakes that I had made because I had improper planning on my part. And what I'm going to start on now is taking care of some of this wooded area here. It's already thinned out, so I'm glad for that. But I got to thin out more. Oh, that wind's blowing in my eyes here. Oh well, I'll just show you here behind me here. This is what we're going to get started on in order to get ready for moving that right structure there, that carport building with the solar panels on top of it, so that I can move that structure on the left there. There's going to end up being a greenhouse, and I can level that ground out more and then extend that greenhouse another 20 feet. And that building on the right here is going to be placed in here somewhere. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I'll show you a little bit of that and how I'm going to go about doing it. Catch as much footage as I can. I'll try to move the camera a little bit from time to time, but the bottom line is I got to do as much work as I can. We got more rain coming, and when I get rain, it pretty much shuts me down, especially when it comes to operating any equipment around here. Some of them are boogers, ain't they? Oh! Okay, here we are in second day, and I had to take a little break, and I'll show you why here in a minute. And this is what we got going on behind me right now. I got a lot of cleanup to do, and I still have about somewhere between 8 and a dozen larger trees that I got to take out. But before I do that, I'm gonna clean up here. I'm gonna grab the box blade, move some of this dirt, and try to fill some of these holes up from these root balls coming out. Just makes it a little bit smoother and easier on me and my back inside that skid steer. But I had a little mishap, and I went ahead and shut down toward the end of the day because, well, I wasn't paying attention. Let me show you what I'm talking about. All right. So things happen, right? Look here. No door. All right. So don't bring root balls into the cab of your skid steer. I know better. I should have known better, but I wasn't paying attention. I was paying attention up high, looking at my tree top that I was carrying, trying to miss other tree branches, because I'd already had a little incident where I broke a tree branch off another big oak, and it come crashing down, missing me. So I need to pay more attention to my tree top. And as I was tilting forward, I just brung the root ball into the glass and shattered it all over me. And I fared out pretty good. Minimal blood. I had some glass shards in my hands and my arms a little bit. Had a few slivers that blew into my face. I got very, very fortunate, very lucky that nothing came into my eyes. I was so thankful for that, because I don't think about wearing safety glasses when I'm inside of a cab. Maybe I should, especially if I'm not going to be paying attention to these root balls. Couple $100, and we'll be back to a full cab here. Meanwhile, I'm going to continue working without the front glass and just being very careful. It'll be a little bit cooler, but there's heat inside this thing. All right, I think I've went about as far as I can go. I took a few more trees out here behind me where my compost pile is. Of course, it got smaller here because people ask for compost and I deliver. So let me take you over here to the other side and we can see what we got accomplished. All right, so there we are. I already filled that hole in. That big old double trunk right there, that was a bugger to get out, but I couldn't have done it without the Intimidator. And mainly because it was all wrapped around all these roots from this big old pine here. So we're looking pretty good. I've got everything out that I had planned on getting out, with the exception of this 4-trunk tree here right in front of us. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take those 2 trunks and I'm going to go ahead and actually take them down with the chainsaw. I'm not going to attempt that big root ball there with these pines on either side of it. I'm trying not to damage the roots of these other trees, or try to have minimal damage as I possibly can. So I'll go ahead and fell those with the chainsaw and then I'll clean them up after I get all this taken care of. I know I said I was going to take the bigger ones out with the chainsaw, but everything was going so well, I thought I'd go ahead and try some of these bigger ones with that Intimidator. And I got to tell you, that is one awesome tool. I am so impressed. I've operated skid steers before, but I've never utilized that Intimidator, is what they call it. That is a digging, excavating, root cutting machine and tool to carry these trees. I didn't carry these bigger ones here. All I did was use it to topple them over like a dozer would with rippers. I think it actually went faster than a dozer would have went with the rippers. He can push them over faster, but I could get around these root balls and cut all these roots and topple them over much quicker, I believe, than the dozer would. So I went ahead and just fell these with that Intimidator, and this big oak here, I did the same thing, and that one down there. I've got everything taken out and positioned where I can get in here and clean all this up with the chainsaw, get the firewood out that I'm going to take out of it, and I'll chip as much as of the branches that I can. Hey, Miss Panks. They don't know what to think. So we got some of the ground cleaned up here. Now I just got a lot of work ahead of me, and once I get all this cleaned up, then I'll do some finishing touches, and then we'll commence to getting the solar panels off that structure there. I'll get that moved out of the way. I'm going to have to get the greenhouse moved out of the way so I can get that ground leveled, but I can't do any of that until I get my mess here cleaned up. So I got a lot of work accomplished in creating more work for myself. So that's going to take me a little bit. But once we get ready to move that structure, I'll show you how I plan on doing that. Folks, man, if you get an opportunity to utilize one of those Intimidators on a skid steer, and that was a wheeled skid steer. My buddy, that's his Intimidator, and that is one of the best attachments that he has, and that's the first time that I got to utilize it. He has a tracked skid steer, and I'm sure it would even do better on the tracked skid steer. But with that wheeled one, man, I did pretty good. It saved me a lot of work, and it saved me from having to bring in bigger equipment trying to work around all this stuff. That is one bad mamma jamma of a tool on a skid steer. I love it. Carrying trees, excavating. I could dig a trench with it if I want to. I highly appreciate you, buddy, for letting me utilize that thing, and it worked out perfect in these tight spaces and working around this structure, especially carrying them trees and putting them right where I wanted them to. So other than the little mishap on the loaner, everything went just as planned. It actually went better than I planned, because I thought I was going to be felling those trees with a chainsaw and then digging the root ball. But I gave it a try on the first bigger tree, and it worked out beautifully. I could control the tree, I could monitor the ground, and just being careful where I'm digging and where my placement is, and then drag them out right onto the Intimidator on a skid steer. Awesome tool. Now we're going to get to moving forward on correcting some of my misplanning and mistakes when it comes to that greenhouse, those solar panels, and the structure that the panel is on. Hope you got something out of it, and pass it along, share with other folks. May all your branches become full of fruit, and I'll see you next time, folks. Well, I got to get some other things done now.